Good morning. Welcome to the Parenting Versus
podcast.
So I tried to hold the music player, which is my Pixel 2 XL, away from the microphone, which is my iPhone 6S, so it doesn't overwhelm this microphone. So the other day when I was playing this in my car, our podcast, I was blasting out my speakers. But anyways, Lindsay walked away, so I'm going to take a parenting pause. And we're back. You probably heard our 6-year-old over the break music, but...
6-year-old.
6-year-old.
He's 6.
He's 6.
His birthday was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. We've had a child for 6 years now.
I know. I was actually thinking back. I had a little memory of before I went to the hospital to have him.
He's having a Lego crisis, so I'm gonna go help him real quick. Okay.
So to recap, we had a Minecraft birthday party yesterday for him, and being the cheap ass parent that I am, I just drew creeper faces on green balloons because I'm not gonna go buy special balloons for like 2 hours. But anyway, yeah. So 6 years old, crazy. I had a memory that I kind of forgot about, and then it popped up yesterday. I was in the bathtub last night. I took an Epsom salt bath because that relaxes me, and I was thinking, and I remember going in right before we went in to be induced to have Luke. I was in an Epsom salt bath, and I was sitting there, and I was terrified because I was like, okay, after I get out of this bath, like this is the last bath I'm gonna take before my life is changed forever. And it was horrifying. Like, I remember thinking, like, next time I come home, I'll have a baby. And, like, I remember I was listening to Santa Gold, which is random. And I was just kind of, like, milling around in my brain that my life was not going to be the same. And I didn't know how it was going to change. I just knew that, like, when I came back, we were going to have a baby. And it was really hard to, like, wrap my head around that. So, yeah, Luke was our first, and stupid parents that we are, like naive, didn't have any kids. We went in to be induced on a Thursday, and we thought, okay, yeah, like we'll just have a baby like by tonight. Little did we know that doesn't always work. So I was induced. They started the process on Thursday. I didn't have him until Saturday. So we tried a lot of different ways to have him, and we were in the hospital for a while, and so our first birth experience was kind of crazy, I think, just because we thought we were going to have a baby by that night. And then lo and behold, like 2 nights later, then we had a baby. So yeah, it was a little bit nuts. I think as a first time parent, you're never really sure what to expect after that. And how can you? You don't know. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. It's just crazy to think about.
Our daughter's staring at us.
I know. Gosh, it's like they know.
Through her cage.
Like, don't say cage, because it's not a cage. It's a baby gate.
She's throwing black licorice at us.
Why does she have black licorice?
They wanted to try it.
Gross.
Okay. Should I put her for a nap? Is it too early?
It's way too early. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
I will manage. Talk about Luke's birth.
Talk about Luke's birth. Wow, that's not a small task. Yeah, so I remember the first night in the hospital. I was laying there, and I was kind of just watching TV, really anxious, couldn't sleep, waiting for something to happen.
Tell the podcasters what I felt.
What you felt?
Yeah, like at school all day.
Oh, okay, I will. And the lady in the hospital in the room next to me, I guess she was having like a natural birth. And she was screaming at the top of her lungs, like screaming bloody murder. And I remember asking like the nurse, is she okay? And she's like, oh yeah, she's just in labor. And I remember thinking, oh shit, Like, I don't want to do this. I'm totally freaked out. Like, that sounds terrible. But then my other thought was like, you know, we have medicine and modern medicine for a reason. So I guess if she's choosing not to use it, that's her decision. But I think I'm going to go for the epidural. I hadn't made my mind up completely at that point, but I think after I heard the woman screaming, I was like, yep, gonna do it. Yeah, so we tried a few ways to get Luke to come out. He didn't want to come out. Finally, they gave me Pitocin, which I would not wish on anybody. I mean, sometimes it's necessary, and I get that, but it's just really hard on your body. And it hurts. It hurts a lot. And that seemed to do the trick, and we had him on a Saturday morning, and he was born, and then he pooped on the floor promptly after he was born. So, yeah. The fun things you remember about your first child being born. I just remember being really just, I don't know, bewildered, and it was just kind of crazy. He was crying, and then I said, you know, hi, you know, I was talking to him. I was, hi, it's me, Mom, you know, and I was just, I don't remember exactly what I said, but he stopped crying and he looked right up at me. And it's incredible. That in itself is like the most amazing feeling of love, and bonding that you can have, I think, as a new parent. Like, they recognize your voice in the womb, but when that baby's in your arms and they recognize your voice for the first time and they physically like turn their head towards where the voice is coming from, you realize that 9-month bond and like how strong that's been, and it's just incredible. That being said, I don't love being pregnant or anything like that, but it was definitely an experience having Luke. Changed our life.
Yep.
Yeah, so anyway.
So, yeah, six years.
Jeez. Yeah.
But we've known of him for 6 years and 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty wild last 6 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 6 years is that's a long time. It seems like a long time.
That's a college degree.
Yeah, if your name is me. Yeah, it took me 6 years.
Or, you know, med school.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
So,
What was your biggest fear, like being a first-time dad and like not knowing how to dad?
I don't know. We started a blog back when when you were pregnant with Luke.
Yeah.
And we would update like our feelings and thoughts about being a parent. I think I had
Or impending parenthood.
Mm-hmm, I think I had no idea what to expect. I knew that I was excited.
You didn't know what to expect when you were expecting.
Yeah, I should have read the book.
Mm.
I remember we did have a bunch of books and I didn't read them because I was
Yeah.
planning on it.
I really don't feel like a book is going to prepare you for something that you have no prior knowledge of.
It'll help you become better prepared because there's people who have gone through the experience before who
Right.
can write. But I remember being really excited and following how big he was inside of your womb.
Comparing him to fruit.
Yeah.
Here's a raspberry, and then he was a tangerine or something.
Yeah. Raspberry, and then they compare it to fruit. And I remember when I had that app and we were following how big he was and like what was going on in the womb. I remember thinking somebody needs to write a New Mexican version of this.
Yeah.
Your son is the size of a tamale from El Modelo.
Right.
Now your son is the size of a stuffed sopapilla. Your son is the size of a red chili pepper.
I feel like you should be the one to write the New Mexican baby book.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I
think
feel like that would be really good.
I just thought that would be kind of funny.
Yeah, I think
But,
that's totally funny.
One thing I didn't expect was... Okay, so I knew that parenting was a commitment, obviously.
Duh.
But it's way more than you can ever imagine.
So you were prepared for the commitment of 18 years?
I knew that, okay, this is going to be a commitment, but I was like, dang. This is a lot. Parenting is a huge deal.
I'm just kind of wondering what you thought it was supposed to be like.
I just thought, you know, like I live in a fantasy world sometimes.
Yeah.
Not like not like the strip club that's in Albuquerque, but
Did you just inadvertently shout out a strip club? Don't go there, guys. Gross.
whatever. I don't care. I'm not gonna go there. But anyway, so I remember having lots of like happy thoughts and happy feelings, like, oh, it's gonna be magical parenting. When parenting is life changing, and there's a bond, like there's a human that's born that you automatically love a lot. But it's, you know, you lose a lot of things too. It's crazy. It's a huge sacrifice, and it's good.
I don't think you even realize what you're losing until later on.
Mm-hmm.
Like you realize mentally that you're going to be tired.
Are you done?
People tell you.
Oh, cool. Now you get to build the other one.
People tell you you're going to be tired. People tell you like, oh, you're going to be tired for the next 18 years. Oh, college fund. People say things, but you have no idea the weight of what those things actually mean or feel like until your kid is there. Tired is an understatement for sure. People tell you you're going to be tired, but they don't explain to you that it's tired in different ways. Like, the worst advice I think I ever got was like, oh, sleep when the baby sleeps. That never works. I don't know why people still give that advice, honestly. Because when the baby sleeps, I think you're trying to get stuff done, or you're like, oh, now I can shower for once in like the next 3 days. Oh, I can actually eat something or like watch a TV show and mentally like decompress from this crazy life I'm in right now. Yeah, sleep when the baby sleeps is terrible advice, I think. I also think that people need to, and I don't know how you do this really, but like with your jobs, I think men and women need to take equal amounts of time off to be with their kid and bond, because you're going to need each other during that time for sleep and for just functioning in general, and like finding your schedule and your niche as parents. So you both kind of need to be home figuring that out for a little while. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you give up a lot. Like you forget, oh, I can't just go out to dinner, oh, I can't just go meet my friends and like go do something. Oh, I can't just grab a beer after work. Like,
for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah. Because
of time, and then you got to remember that money that was your beer money before now is diaper money and baby money.
Yeah.
So.
I think people forget. And then there's things you need to buy all the time that you like don't even take into consideration. Like, yes, diapers and wipes and stuff, but like babies grow quickly.
Clothes.
You have to buy clothes. You have to buy, a baby bath. You have to buy the right shampoo. And what if your kid breaks out and that doesn't work and you have to go back to the store and get different. There's all kinds of stuff that you don't even know and you don't even think about. A baby thermometer. That's actually one of the best things somebody gave us, I think, as new parents, was like a thermometer for babies, because I would not have thought about that on my own.
There's so many weird baby contraptions too.
Gosh, yeah.
So one of those baby things that I wanted to try out, but I think you gave it to a friend of yours, was the nose Frida.
Ugh.
It's this tube that you stick in the nose of your baby and you suck the boogers out.
Why does that sound appealing to anybody?
Well, having a stuffed up kid is like, Luke's 6 and he still doesn't know how to blow his nose.
We try.
But having a stuffed up kid is crazy. Also,
it also leads to ear infections, guys.
Yeah.
Which is not fun for anyone. No. And then there's no sleep either.
Yeah. No sleep till Brooklyn.
No sleep till antibiotics, really.
All right. The babies are wandering, so I'm going to check to see why.
The babies are wandering. Yeah, so there's all kinds of stuff as parents, like first-time parents, that people will tell you need, that you don't need. And then there's a bunch of stuff that you do need that no one tells you about.
Yeah. Like what?
Well, like a changing pad. I think it's really helpful to have like a changing pad in your diaper bag, but also in your car. A portable one, because you get like a crappy little changing pad with your diaper bag if you buy like a diaper bag that has all the good stuff in it. But your kid, there are places that you're going to have to change your kid's diaper that you never thought were possible, like the side of the road in southern New Mexico where there's nothing around and you're like, oh my gosh, this kid just had a blowout. So you have to pull over. You have to figure that out. You have to find a way to change them in the trunk of your car, which is super fun. And then also extra clothes. Like there's kind of a rhythm to this. You should always have like 2 extra outfits for your kid, like in the car. I resorted to, I think after Riley was born. No, buddy, not right now. After Riley was born, I took a laundry basket, a little one, and I would just put diapers, wipes, extra outfits, a blanket, a coat. I mean, just things I might need when I'm out and about with a baby that I might forget to pack. And it was a lifesaver, just because it was already in my trunk. And I just would be like, oh yeah, I have this in the trunk. Like I can use that. You just like never know with kids, like what you're going to need. One time, one of our kids had a blowout at church and it was bad. And of course I did not pack anything because I thought, oh, it's like an hour and a half. Like we'll be fine. We were not fine. So she had to borrow a onesie from another kid at church whose mom was like way more prepared than me. But yeah, you just kind of start to realize the things that you need. Pacifiers. If your kid loves a pacifier, you need to like invest in that shit. And I'm serious. Oh my gosh. There's so many times where our kids would only want to use one type of pacifier and they'd lose it. And then we'd be like, oh my gosh, where is it? And then we couldn't find it and it was a nightmare. So maybe some extra pacifiers, like things that your kids love. Like if your kids love a certain type of bottle, invest in those and stock up because you're going to need them. One or two is not going to cut it, especially when you go to grandma and grandpa's house and you're all over town or you leave it somewhere. You always need extras of those things. You're always going to end up buying extras. So just stock up early once you know what your kid likes.
One thing that parenting has allowed me to do is become way more comfortable with poop. You were talking about changing pads?
Yeah.
And
blowouts.
Julia had a couple, I don't remember if Riley did or not, but Luke used to have these like up the back like blowouts.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe we just didn't.
It looks like your kid got shot with a paintball gun full of poop. It's just so gross.
Like I remember one blowout Luke had, like he had poop all the way up his back to his neck. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what in the world is going on?
Think about the velocity behind that. That's crazy.
Yeah. This little intestines. So.
Well, yeah, and then their car seats get all nasty, and you got to take those apart and power wash them. And there's so many things that can happen with kids. And infant and baby poop is like the worst. Newborn poop is the worst.
I don't know. Luke's poop is getting pretty adult looking.
Well, he also is potty trained.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. She knows what she's doing. Juliet, you are a stinker. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Newborn poop is a journey for sure. It can be weird colors sometimes, which we also did not know. One time we called the hospital, the pediatrician, because Luke had this diaper and it was like this weird chalky looking poop. And we were like, something is wrong. Like our kid is sick. Something is wrong. What do we do? And we called the pediatrician. They're like, oh, it's totally normal. It's fine. So yeah, you learn a lot about baby poop when you have your first kid, because if it looks not normal to you, you end up calling the pediatrician a lot. Teething also, it's not like they just, excuse me, it's not like they just get their teeth and everything's fine. Everybody expects a little pain and crankiness with teething, but what people don't realize is a teething baby, they can have drool, they can have sore gums, they can not want to eat anything and just want to drink milk. They want to be held all the time when they're teething, like they get really clingy. They can have diarrhea because of all the drool. They can have fevers. I mean, teething is no freaking joke. And so you can kind of tell when your kid is teething because it's apparent most of the time. We are terrible parents, and when Luke was teething, we used to freeze pieces of licorice in the freezer and just let him gum them. It was messy, but it seemed to do the trick. Like he was okay with it, and it helped his teeth. But yeah.
I'm cold.
You're cold?
Yeah.
Well, you know where your sweatshirts are. You can grab one. I think you probably do. Why don't you go ask Dad? Yeah, so there's just a lot of things that you learn. Molars are also a different beast of teething. which molars are hell on earth. They're terrible. I think a couple episodes ago we were dealing with Juliet's molars coming in, and yeah, be prepared for like no sleep for a week, maybe 2. Buddy, you keep interrupting, and you're 6, so I know that you can get a drink by yourself now, and you can get your own sweatshirt because you're 6 now, and that's what 6-year-olds can do. So I trust you. But yeah, so there's things. But parenting it's like you learn a lot about yourself, but you also learn a lot about what you're made of, and you learn about the things that really, really push your buttons that you didn't realize push your buttons. And that's not only with your kids, but like with your marriage too. Like you have to learn a different dynamic of being married and being a team than you previously had. It can do a number on your marriage too. Like, but I think when you come out on the other side, you appreciate the other person. It just takes sometimes a long time to do that. You okay?
Yeah, maybe I'll be a part of this podcast.
Yeah. I was just talking about how parenting changes the dynamic of your marriage and your relationship with each other a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. And I don't know. I'm just...
Thought you were going to say something really epic, and then you're like, I don't know.
No, I'm not saying anything epic. I'm just trying to relax for a second.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's been... time goes by faster, I think, when you're a parent.
Yeah, it does.
I can't believe Luke is 6. 6 years ago was...
It doesn't feel that long ago.
Seem like it was that long ago.
Yeah.
And the other day we were at some friend's house for a little
shindig,
guitar circle, hootenanny.
Yeah, it's fun.
And it was fun, but all those folks have, well, James and Jen, they have older kids, and then the church group that they run, the other couple, they have older kids, and it's hard for me to imagine like having an older kid. You know what I mean? Like
a 10-year-old, you're like, no.
Yeah, like a 10-year-old that's into video games and you know whatever 10-year-olds are into. I know Luke's getting into video games and stuff, but it's hard for me to picture. It's good grief. Yeah. So distractions abound.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was funny. Like, so we went to our friends James and Jen's house the other night, and we were gonna walk to this brewery and restaurant that's really close to their house. It's like a block away. So we met there, and we were getting ready to go, and their son was there, and they're like, "Okay, see you later. Keep the door locked." And I was like, "Wait, you can do that? Like, he's cool, just hanging out? Like, I cannot even wait." Like,
yeah.
I was like, I cannot even wait for the day when I can be like, just keep the door locked.
Luke just turned 6.
I
think Luke's responsible enough to take care of his siblings. He's 6.
You're so kidding right now. I would never.
Of course I'm kidding.
I hope so.
But yeah, it's in 6 years from now he's going to be 12, so middle school. Yeah. So it's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
And 6 years from now, Juliet will be 8.
That blows I cannot even picture her being a little girl. Mm-hmm. I picture her being a baby girl.
Yeah.
And it's just, she's always going to perpetually be my baby girl.
Cool. Well, talking about parenting, there's so much more, I think that parenting has helped me do. And that's sit down and think and contemplate everything. I mean, you know, I'm a man that's always in crisis for whatever reason. And,
sounds like a country song.
So here's one thing that I'm starting to realize, like I'm always trying to find out the solution or the answer to a certain thing. And sometimes you have to be okay to understand that sometimes there's not a solution. Yeah. Sometimes there's not an answer, and that's really hard for me. And there's big issues that are being talked about. The internet is making that happen, has made that happen. I feel like a little bit anxious about our country. It's weird. Like, Lindsay sighs because she hates my guts.
I don't know.
But
I'm just trying to figure out how you're relating it to parenting.
Because parenting maybe it's my age, I don't know, but I don't have that time with with other people like I used to, and where I could just not care and just worry about like whatever was pleasing me at that moment.
What's going on this weekend?
Yeah. Being social is important. Also having like alone time, just hanging out and playing a video game or whatever was important to me. But big issues were not really important to me. Like I was aware of big issues, but I didn't really care, to be honest. Awesome, Luke. Cool. He's showing us his Legos. Okay, keep going, bud. You're doing good. But I didn't really care. Like there was bigger things for me to worry about. I guess is like my social life in my 20s. Like whatever. Now I'm in my 30s. I'm a parent.
There's a shift in priorities for sure.
Have time to, I guess, think about these things, and it just so happens that a lot of things are happening right now. Mm-hmm. So, hey, Luke, do me a favor and continue to build your Legos in there. Go.
Do you think that it's a lot of things are happening, or you're just more cognizant of them?
I think both. I mean, when we were in our 20s, there was a lot of things happening with, like, you know, war in the Middle East and George Bush and Barack Obama being elected president,
or maybe you
and stuff
felt
like
less
that.
Affected by them because that just wasn't your focus.
I just really didn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hang on, Diego's going in there. Luke left the gate open.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little half and half for me. Like, yeah, there's things like as a parent now that I'm like, oh, this actually really affects me, or my kids. But before, yeah, you're like, well, I think in your 20s, your ignorance is kind of blissful. You know, you're concerned about
maybe that's just us
doing
too.
Different things.
Maybe
yeah.
other people were really involved. But today, like I think about things all the time, and I'm trying to find out what the answer is. One of the things that's on my mind too, like, is the topic of abortion and stuff like that. Like, I'm trying to have an opinion on that, and that's really, I mean, it's really complicated and everything. Or homosexuality and being a Christian and what I've been taught and what is right and what, you know, all that stuff.
You know,
and
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was listening to a podcast this morning, the Liturgist podcast, and it was called "The Ethics of Close Your Virgin Ears." That's not what it's called. It's called "The Ethics of Fucking."
Uh-huh.
But yeah.
Huh?
So it's talking about sex and what that means as a Christian and what's right, what's wrong, all this other stuff. Yeah. So there's just a lot of big issues that I'm throwing around in my head, and how that applies to my faith journey, I guess, and what I've been taught and what I read, what I look at as, like, I don't know. Anyways.
What?
I'm sorry. Sometimes I work things out verbally that are in my head, and when it goes through my head, it makes sense to me. When I start talking about it, it doesn't connect. So I'm sorry if I lost you.
You didn't lose me. I don't know.
I lost you. It's okay.
I'm not lost on the topic. I understand what you're saying. I just feel like we always rehash the same thing over and over.
It's always being rehashed in my brain.
It's probably really boring for other people to listen to.
I'm sorry. That's always rehashed in my brain, though.
Okay. I don't feel very good. I don't know. I feel kind of sick.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, our daughter was up last night a lot. Yes, now Lorenz is rolling his eyes because I talk about that all the time. Because when I'm tired, I'm really tired. I also don't like having birthday parties at our house, and yesterday we did that, and it was like it was nice, but I'm not a hostess, and it stresses me out.
You posted on Facebook birthday success.
Yeah, I feel like it went well.
Me too.
But do I want to do it again in a month? No. Do I want to do it again in 2 months? No. I am not a host. I am not a hostess.
Why?
It stresses me out. It's hard for me to enjoy, like, the reason we're celebrating when I have to host those things.
Right.
Like, I would rather just be able to enjoy my kid turning 6. And instead, I felt like I had to make sure everybody was entertained and everybody had this and everything. I want to be able to enjoy the moment, not have to, like, cater to everybody else in the moment. And it's hard for me to like get excited about hosting stuff like that at our house because I feel like my primary goal is to make sure everybody's having a good time, not to enjoy my kid's birthday. And so I don't know. It's birthday season.
Well, regardless of what you do, like you are hosting sort of like no matter what you do with the kid's birthday, like if you go to Peter Piper's or whatever.
No.
Like, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
What I mean though is like my personality type, we talked about this a couple episodes back. So I have a running list of things that need to get done or accomplished. When I'm at home and I have people over, that list takes over because I feel like I'm responsible for that. If we're at like Peter Piper Pizza or Chuck E. Cheese, I don't have to worry about making the food or entertaining the people. Or the only thing I have to worry about is being there and saying hello. So that list gets shut down, which is nice. Because when I'm home and I'm trying to, I have a list of like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to make sure this is happening, and it's not fun. It's stressful.
I understand what you're saying. I'm kind of see. This is like life's joke on us though, because I'm flipped. Peter Piper's or Chuck E. Cheese or I guess It's isn't a thing anymore, but those places stress me the hell out. They stress me out so much.
Because there's a lot of
Like
stimuli or what?
I get anxiety just thinking about doing a birthday party there. Because there's a lot of different factors. So, is Riley going to get lost in a crowd? Am I going to drop $300? There's a lot of noise and a lot of other people like enjoying an intimate moment with my family. Like we're sharing this, which is fine, I guess, but it's not really like a community thing to me. And when I leave those places, I feel like my ears are ringing. I feel like I didn't have a good time. I feel like I didn't get to have a chance to have a conversation with anybody. It was just trying to figure out how to pay for the pizza, how to make sure that everything's coordinated, making sure kids aren't fighting over coins. Like that
They do
place,
all that for you.
they do, and they give you little cups, and you're supposed to distribute the cups. And sure enough, one kid's going to run out of coins pretty fast, and one kid has extra coins, and
But that's a life.
brothers are going to fight.
That's
like,
a life lesson, though.
it is, but that like those scenarios make me feel so incredibly anxious. Like I do not like it. So it's life's trick on us because we're flipped. Like you are relaxed in that situation because whatever.
Because my kids wouldn't be doing this to me. They'd be playing games and entertained.
Yeah.
Especially me.
Especially you. Let's parenting pause real quick,
Okay.
and then we'll get back at it.
You're like a dream to me, a shooting star that no one sees, spinning in this blue sphere. Love's gravitation pulls us near to Daria.
Okay, we're back. So what is your goal? Like, for example, like I know I'm kind of transitioning out of parenting because even though we're always parents, that's always going to be on our mind. I just was thinking about this the other day, like about my goal. Like, is there an ultimate goal for me? Like, is there a place that I want to be that brings me like happiness and joy? I think that's everybody's goal, is happiness and joy or something like that, right? And where I'm the most happy, I think, is like when I'm in the presence of others is one place, like people who and I guess like-minded, people who are like-minded, and when you can be honest in discussion, that makes me happy. And that's balanced with when I'm by myself and able to be with my thoughts. So those two places. I gotta close that door. Hang on. Go ahead.
You're really ADD. Like, it's okay. He's in a micromanaging mood this morning, I've noticed. It's gonna be okay. If the gate's open, the gate's open. It'll be all right.
I know. I just don't want kids.
You're a little
coming
bit
in.
OCD about it.
I am.
Like, calm down.
I know. So that's if I think about like what makes me happy, it's being with people who are like-minded, I guess. Having discussion, being honest, talking about like working out those things that I'm thinking about when I'm by myself.
Mm-hmm.
That gives me a lot of, I guess, peace.
Yeah.
Like if I'm by myself and with my thoughts, I'm thinking and I'm kind of saving it on the side for later. And then if I get in a discussion with people who I don't feel comfortable with, like that just stays there. And then I feel frustrated. Does that make sense? So
For you, it does. Because that's
I guess-
kind of your
yeah,
personality.
I guess you could say my goal would be to have a lot of community, a lot of, I don't know. Those things make me happy. Hey, Luke, can you close that gate? Thank you.
I was gonna.
Okay.
Mommy.
How about you?
What are my goals?
Yeah, like what?
To travel more.
What makes you happy?
Traveling.
Yeah.
Not even major traveling, just like going to Denver every once in a while, going to Palm Springs. That's actually one of my happy places. I don't know. I want to invest time and energy into seeing the people that I care about most, even if they're not here. My best friend Erin lives in Denver, and I feel like it's important for me to make the effort to go and see her just as much as she makes the effort to see me, because that's valuable.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I feel more strongly about that than I do about like going up to Portland. Portland is and will always be where I grew up, but
You don't have any like.
my relationships there are not as strong or
Nurtured.
nurtured, yeah, as the ones that are closer to here. So, yeah, I mean, going to Portland is great, and I love traveling up there. Don't get me wrong, like I love that city, but it's more about the people for me, and the relationships with the people I have, and making sure those are maintained. You know, Palm Springs is beautiful. I love the city, and my grandparents are there, so it's like a win-win. You know, it's a bonus. Like I get to see my grandparents, and I get to go to a city that I love. I love Palm Springs. I love the architecture, mid-century modern stuff. I love the history. I love just like the whole mode of that city is fun.
Kind of a glamorous, like
It's old
like,
Hollywood.
It's former glam, you know.
But it's also making a comeback. It's very artsy. It's very I'm gonna sneeze. Hold on. Sorry. Excuse me. You know, it's near Joshua Tree. There's a lot of natural beauty there too. I think it's interesting to me. But yeah, I want to travel. Like I like seeing Jeff when we go see Jeff. I always feel like that's time well spent. I want to invest time and energy into the friendships and relationships that are important to me. I wish I could go to Georgia more to see my friend Tippy because, again, like, is Georgia awesome? Yeah, Georgia's pretty cool. But really, would it be about going there or seeing her? It'd be more about seeing her and just enjoying that we're there, you know?
So you really enjoyed like the relationships you have with specific people.
I have some really strong friendships that no matter how far away I am from those people, they remain strong.
Yeah.
And I want to nurture those. You know, my friend Julie lives in Seattle. I don't see her often, but our relationship and our friendship is strong.
Yeah.
Like, I want to nurture that.
I could say that about Jeff. Like we go months without communicating with each other, but when I see him, it's
You
like,
can pick up.
yeah, it's like we didn't miss a beat. Like I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, what's up, bro? Big old hug.
Yeah.
Give him a wet willy real quick. Wrestle.
You're so weird. Yeah. But no, that's why, like, I was talking to you about, like, my friend Erin, she's moving into a new apartment, Luke,
Yeah.
in May. And she was like, yeah, you should come out. And I feel like that's important. I feel like that's an important thing. And then we have Mike and Jenna in Denver. Like, I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like that's important. And it's not impossible.
Yeah.
You know, Denver is really close. It's
Yeah.
really accessible. It shouldn't be a big barrier in our friendship.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
That's true. So I also have this strong desire for like peace,
well, you're a peacemaker after all.
and
Says your Enneagram.
I don't like conflict at all. I don't like when me and you are at odds with each other. I don't like it when other people are at odds with each other. I think that might be why I have anxiety about the whole country, and it's really weird. I don't know, like I have anxiety about, and I don't want to call it like anxiety. It's like I just don't feel right about
Maybe it is anxiety.
about the divide that our country is going through. And I just don't like it. I don't know. There's a podcast I listen to called it's called Depolarize,
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that.
and it was really interesting. They started it up again, and they added a new host. I can't remember her name, but I do know that she has a pretty vocal opinion about abortion and how it's bad. But what they do is they try to look at two sides of an issue, and they're trying to depolarize. So their first episode, they interviewed, I think, like from this last election, they interviewed Hillary supporters, and then the next episode, they interviewed Trump supporters.
Interesting.
And what's interesting to me was like the episode was just trying to get to know those people, and they asked them like, why did you vote for Trump and all this other stuff. I think Trump is terrible. He's not a good man. And I also watched a short video about how Trump is the vaccine for our country. Like, we have to go through this so that we don't do it again.
I guess that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it sucks because it's not fun for anybody.
But people had reasons, their reasons for voting for Donald Trump, even though I think he's a terrible man, whatever. But it was getting to know people and not just making them out to be like evil people. They're not bad people. Like, our parents voted for Trump, and they're not bad people.
I think they may be ill-informed.
Yeah.
I mean,
they had their reasons not to vote for Hillary Clinton or whatever. Like, it was just. So, anyways, yes, buddy.
Have you seen that fire truck thing where there's
I have
the
not.
fire
Can you do me a favor and go close the gate, though?
garage and the Imaginext fire truck thing where there's a jail?
I have not seen it.
The one with the snake.
Okay. All right. So, what's that?
That's a flight to Denver. Pretty cheap. I would like to book that soon.
Yeah. There's so many things in marriage that are just crazy to me.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I want to. Like, you have two people's wills, two people's wants, desires, and it's so crazy. Like, you have to work together, and sometimes that's really hard. Sometimes it's just really hard to work together.
I will say I'm proud of you yesterday. You bought me some shoes,
Yeah.
and I actually liked them.
I was expecting you not to, actually.
I really do. Well, okay. Let me just recap this before we wrap up. So a couple years ago, Lorenzo bought me some shoes for Mother's Day. I think they were Bob's.
Yeah.
I hated them. I love you, but I hated the shoes.
Is it
They
the
were-
brand? Is that why is it the brand? Because they look exactly like Tom's.
No, they don't look like Tom's. Tom's are canvas. Bob's are like cheap synthetic material that look like really crappy made moccasins.
They were $70,
Well, they're dumb.
and it's like the same idea. I get it. It's like a blatant ripoff of Tom's.
Which is part of the
So it is the
reason.
it is.
It's
the,
partially the branding, but it's also just they're really crappy looking shoes. They look cheap, and I'm like, if you're gonna pay $70, like pay for the real thing. So they, like a couple years ago, Lorenzo for Mother's Day bought me these shoes, and first of all, like, I feel like shoes are a thing that you should just buy yourself because other people probably don't know what you want. And they were ugly. I love you, but they were hideous. They were like just ugly.
I thought they looked cool.
They were terrible. And so I was kind of offended because I was like, geez, like this is what you think of when you think of me. Like, that's kind of not okay with me.
But you like the shoes I got you yesterday.
But you learned from that, and you got me some really cool shoes yesterday. So thank you.
Yeah.
See,
Well,
so
I
we're
had-
learning each other.
I had to buy my own shoes because my shoelaces are falling apart, and it pains me to have to spend money because I'm in charge of. So I am the budget man in our family, and
That's why I'm showing you the Denver
Yeah.
ticket right now, because it's cheapest right now.
and I'm keeping up with bills. I'm trying to make sure that everything is paid for and current. Making sure that that there's more money coming in than there is coming out. So I'm constantly stressed out about that. But yesterday I was like, well, this is a necessity. Like, I have to have shoes. And Lindsay needs shoes too. And it just so happens I'm in here looking around and it's a buy one, get one half off. So I was like, well, I like these shoes. Let me check and see. And I called Lindsay and I was like, I put her on the video phone. I was like, what do you think about these shoes? And I showed her the video of the bobs, which I think they actually improved. And she's like, no bobs. And I was like, fine. I just hung up.
Yeah, he hung up on me. Like, somehow, I guess me saying no bobs was, like, really a trigger point for you.
Well, you were slightly rude.
I'm honest.
Yeah, so I was like, okay,
And I
fine,
thought
I'm
you
done.
learned last time, though.
And then I called back because usually if I react, I feel bad pretty much instantly, and I'll call back.
I called you back, dear.
You called me back, but I hung up on you. But then I called you back. Like, if there's
Okay, this doesn't matter. Let's get to the point.
no, but I know this is interesting though, because anytime there's any conflict with us, and I react, I almost instantly feel bad.
Then why do you
And
do
I
it?
I don't know. And I almost instantly feel bad and almost instantly apologize, but it's already too late. She's upset and she won't accept my apology.
I just need time. I need some buffer space.
See, and for me, I'm like, I'm mad, I react, and I'm done. Let's make up. So, but anyway,
we made up.
yeah.
we made
Anyway,
up later.
Lindsay gave me criteria. She's like, I like Vans and I like, what'd you say?
I like Tom's.
I like Toms and I like Vans. So they didn't have Toms. I looked at the Vans, and I bought you some Chucks one time, and I thought they looked really good on you. But they also were not comfortable.
Do you know what? I like Chucks. The thing with me, okay, this is probably not... I have wide feet. So if shoes are made really narrow, like, it doesn't matter how much I like them, they're really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I have to make sure they're wide enough for
So-
my gargantuan Sasquatch feet.
You don't have gargantuan Sasquatch.
Look at them. They're huge.
Well, mine are.
You're a man.
I have like a bear claw for a foot.
my God.
Seriously, I scratch Lindsay's legs all the time when we're sleeping on accident. But anyway,
Gangle toes.
yes. I was looking at the Vans, and they're like basically the same shape and the same material as Chucks. You know, you have your rubber sole and canvas top, and I was like, well, she probably won't like this. Also, she doesn't want to look like a teenager. That's not her style. Me, I'm totally fine with being a teenager wearing a hoodie and Vans. Like,
I like hoodies, though.
you do like hoodies, but you pull it off in like an adult way. Anyways, like, I was like, no, she doesn't like those. And I was like, well, she likes things that she can slip on. She doesn't like to wear socks.
I hate
she
socks.
she just likes to put a shoe on.
I hate shoes so much.
So I was like looking down the flip flops. I was like, no, this is too glamorous. And then they had those weird Roman sandals that
Oh,
has
no,
like
hell no.
leather straps up half of your leg. I was like,
I'm not like an S&M, like,
I was like,
person.
well,
Like, I don't
she's
need that.
she's not a Roman warrior, so I'm not gonna get her those.
That you know of.
And then I looked at like the more hippie style ones, and I was like, maybe she can get the brand of these shoes are Earthworks or something like that.
Okay, but you
They're
do realize,
pricey, but there was good quality.
you
like
do realize I grew up in Portland where Birkenstocks like rule, right? So I'm good with
Well,
hippie shoes.
I looked at these shoes that I got, and I was like, well, it's really good soft leather on the top. Has like a memory foam like insole. Has a good rubber on the bottom. She can slip these on. She doesn't have to wear socks. She can wear them all summer.
Wow, you really put a lot of thought into that. I'm impressed.
I put a lot of thought into every decision I make. And the shoes I bought myself were nice, but then when I came home and I tried to stick my fat foot in them, they didn't fit. So
you have to take them back?
I had to take them back.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. So
Bummer, dude.
yeah, but I'm glad you like them. Makes me
do.
happy. But it's just marriage is crazy. Like, that's part of my goal, is just to figure out how to be in. I mean, I sound like such a damn hippie. Figure out how to be in harmony with my wife, like, because we both have these needs and wants and desires and goals and everything, and a lot of times they don't sync up.
Yeah.
Like, just before the parenting pause, Lindsay was like, I'm going to take a shower. We can finish this later in the day. And I was like, no, I want to finish it now. And so her desire at that moment conflicted with mine. So I was like, how the hell do we do this? And that's like our life, is figuring out there's two different people. I know, like, biblically, like, we're like one and all this other stuff, but seriously, we are two different people
We're like Siamese twins,
stuck together, like, whether we like it or not.
sharing a spine but having
Yeah.
different goals.
And I want my wife to talk about me like she does when she talks about Aaron, with this, like, glitter in her eyes.
I told you, like, you're like my heart and she's like my soul mate friend.
Yeah.
James gets it.
Yeah.
Shout out, James.
Shout out to James.
James has a Canadian boyfriend.
He's not selling anything, but shout out to him anyway.
Yeah. No, Erin is just, she gets me. She gets me, and I think the reason we get along is because we're not married. You know what I mean?
And you're not living together.
Well, we did live together, and we got along then too, so.
Yeah. So,
I also like her because she's not a dirty hippie.
are you calling me a dirty hippie?
Yes,
Okay. Yeah.
you're not a dirty hippie. Far from it.
But I'm just trying to balance so many things, like parenting, marriage, my ideas and everything. I have a lot to say, I guess. A lot of times I'm afraid to even mention them or bring them up because everything is so controversial. Everything is so sensitive. Like,
What's the worst that's going to happen if you do bring it up?
I would be looked at as a bigot or a jerk or not, or closed-minded or whatever. So I am, when I look at myself, I think of myself not conservative enough for my church friends and not liberal enough for my not church friends. Like, I still have friends, but I'm in the sweet spot of where nobody likes me.
I think that is all in your head. Seriously, I think you give yourself too much credit. I don't think people consider that
Yeah.
as much as you consider that.
I do consider a lot of things. I also was thinking about this the other day, like how I do want to be more, like, have more balance in my life, because everybody talks about the bigot, Trump voter, and everybody's woke, but
Everybody's got those woke genes.
But the woke people they're like bigots themselves. Like, it's just crazy to me. And I'm just, I don't know. It's not, I don't even think it's worth thinking about or talking about. Maybe I just focus on myself.
Side note, I bought bongos the other night.
What does it have to do with anything?
Nothing. I'm changing the subject.
Oh, because I'm boring you already?
No, because we have to wrap this up and get ready to go.
Okay. So what are you going to do with your bongos?
I'm going to play them. I'm going to play the hell out of them.
And grow some dreads?
Maybe, if you're lucky.
Some patchouli oil?
Ooh. I know someone. I know a guy.
Pete, the patchouli man?
Pete the Patchouli Man. What up, Pete? No, I'm excited. I have bongos, and I'm going to artistically express my feelings so that I feel like a better balanced human being.
Maybe when we do a parenting pause, you can just do a little bongo jam.
Yeah, maybe.
What do you feel about... How do you feel about those...
I feel like I want to shower.
Me too, but I have a thought.
I'm losing my hair. I might have cancer.
No. You don't lose your hair just because you have cancer.
I know. It's called chemotherapy.
So...
My brother had cancer. You forget this.
I know. How do you feel about, like, slam poetry? Like, spoken word?
I think it's cool.
Is it powerful?
It can be.
Yeah.
I think there's a fine line between people trying too hard and people that are actually talented, though. Just because I put some music behind something and I say some, like, quote-unquote woke things doesn't mean I'm a poet.
Did you listen to the poet that I was listening to on the podcast?
Yeah, she was a little bit too much for me.
Yeah.
I mean, she had some good ideas in there. Like, I get it. But there was also some stuff where I was like, now you're just trying too hard.
Yeah.
Like, you're trying to, like, push that edgy
Yeah.
envelope instead of actually, like, making this about art.
It was a poet. It was on that episode of The Liturgist I just listened to, and they were talking about sex and what's ethical, what's not. And this is where one place I'm, like, really conflicted.
Well, do you know, I thought that her commentary was good, but the thing that I didn't like was, like, it was almost like man-hating to some extent. And I'm like, dude, you can be pro-woman and not hate men. Like, you can support women and not hate men. Just because you support women doesn't mean you have to dog on men. Like,
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I felt like she was kind of bordering that line a little bit. It was like, because I support women, all men are scum. And it's like, that's not necessarily true.
I think the idea was that men have traditionally been, like, the oppressor. So you can kind of go in that area where you're dogging men because men as a whole, like as a collective, man has been like the oppressor of women.
But how you can't say that every man is a part of that bandwagon because
No.
not every man is.
No.
And culturally, maybe we've allowed that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I realize like that comes off as probably kind of stupid, but maybe
Right.
we've allowed it. And so who's to blame?
And I'm
Maybe
just
all of us.
I'm just wondering, because our kids are getting older, and I'm wondering, like, how am I going to teach my sons? How am I going to teach my daughters? What do I teach them about sex? Because, and I know this is a big topic, and it's at the end of our show, but I'm really, like, after listening to that episode, I was really, like, how do I teach my kids? Do I be very wishy-washy and say, yeah, like, you're gonna have desires, son.
You be honest
Go
with
ahead,
them.
go ahead and do what you got to do to get those desires out of you. Like,
No, you
go have sex.
Teach them
But-
about respect.
No, I know, but like the episode was like, yeah, teenagers have a huge sex drive. It's true. I was a teenager at one time. I know, and a lot of times, like, so I'm wondering, like, where do I land on this? Like, do I tell my kid, don't think about sex, don't talk about sex?
No, because they're going to
So-
think about it and talk about it whether or not you tell them to.
No, I know, and I'm not. That's not going to be my approach. But at some point, our kids are going to have a desire to have sex, and that
And they
terrifies
may just
me.
have sex.
And they may, but I don't know how to teach them because I have gone through my experiences, and I can tell you. Can I be honest about myself real quick?
Go ahead. I would love it if you do that.
Like, is it okay if
I
be
would
honest?
love it. I actually treasure your honesty, and I wish you'd be more honest
Yeah.
and blunt with me more often.
So, I'm sorry, parents, if you're listening.
Don't apologize. This is part
I
of
hope
your
they're not listening right now.
life story.
But Lindsay was not my first, and none of those meant anything. It was, at that moment, it was a desire that was fulfilled,
Yeah.
and it meant zero. And after I said I do, and I married Lindsay, we married each other, those things, those moments are like trash. Like they're, and I wish that I could have gone back and said, no, I'm not going to do this, but I can't, and it's still there. And you can say like, oh, there's a value and like a learning experience and everything, but I don't even think there's that.
I disagree there.
I think there's this special thing that I experienced with my wife, and it's not. I don't know. That's just how I feel. Maybe it is my upbringing. Maybe we are just supposed to in your teens and 20s just have as much sex as you can until you
but
get married.
The underlying issue is not about sex. The underlying issue is about emotions and respect
Yeah,
and
that is.
self-esteem.
But that like sex is the most intimate thing that you can experience with any other human being, hands down. Period. The end.
But until you experience that intimacy, like in a marriage or in a really like serious relationship where there is actually the respect and the value there, you don't know that.
See that,
You have nothing to compare it to.
and that's why I'm wondering what to teach my kids because I can tell them, I can go back and say, this is what I did, I regret it, make the right choices.
Mm-hmm.
But is that the right way to teach them, or should I just tell them, no, you're a teenager, you're going to have these strong desires, you're in your 20s, you're going to be able to buy alcohol, you're going to be able to go to a bar, you're going to see somebody you like, just do what feels right. Do I go that route, or do I say
you
like
teach them about self-respect and respect for other people, and you teach them about consequences, and you tell them if you do this, this is what could happen, and you prepare them for that. Because if you don't teach them the consequences, how do you expect them to take responsibility for their actions?
But is the consequence that I have a valid consequence?
You might get somebody pregnant at 16. Yeah,
No,
that's a valid
my
consequence.
consequence. What I had. So my consequence was I experienced something very special with somebody else that wasn't you. And I'm living with that today. And I don't like that.
I get that. I think, though, that when every human being is vulnerable and everybody's looking for connection and self-value and worth,
I know why people do it.
I know.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that maybe you doing that at the time was about you feeling like you were worth something to somebody else. and wanting to feel that value and hoping that it was going to be something.
Maybe.
Because let's be honest, when somebody wants us in that way, it makes us feel good. It makes us feel desired. It makes us feel important. It makes us feel valued. It makes us feel like we're somebody.
Yeah. But after that is done, and then it turns out you're not actually that, you feel cheap. Don't you? I did.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I don't know.
Like, you want to be valued, you want to be important, you want to be wanted. And then when it turns out, like, oh, no, it was just an act. It was just a fulfillment of a desire at that moment. Nothing's happening after this. I mean...
So you go try to find it somewhere else. And a lot of times the mistake people make is not finding it in valued relationships. They go and try to find it in sex.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. They place the value on the physical act, not on the emotional one.
Juju, get down, please. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a hairy topic, and I guess we'll learn as we go, figure it out.
Sorry?
So we're gonna get ready for church, but I've already said one thing I'm listening to. I'm listening to the Liturgist
We're gonna be late
podcast.
today.
I think we'll be fine.
Juju.
I'm also what are you listening to?
I don't know yet.
No. So I'm listening to I'm starting to listen to the new Under Oath album because I'm still a teenager in my mind, and I haven't developed an opinion on it yet. It's pretty all right. I've listened to like half of the record a couple times. Haven't really listened to it all the way through. I've also in the morning when good grief. In the morning when I'm trying to like study and relax, like times that are not right now. I don't know what they're barking at. So times when I'm trying to study and relax, I listen to. I'm listening to James.
To piss me off.
James Young. I know. Diego. I've also continued to listen to Hearts Like Lions, If I Never Speak Again. And those two albums are really good. I mean, Under Oath, maybe. James Young, it's really relaxing. Hearts Like Lions is really good. So, I also downloaded and I started to listen to an album from a band I've never heard of. They're called Boston Manor. It's called Be Nothing. So that's been pretty good. What about you?
I've been listening to Dan Arbach a little bit.
What's Dan Arbach like?
He's kind of folky. Reminds me a little bit of the Black Keys, but more of a solo gig. I've been listening to Stephen Marley because I like reggae from time to time, which I know is surprising to everyone, but it's true. And Youth Lagoon, that's kind of been on my replay, and then The War on Drugs, which lately we've been listening to a lot.
I listened to that one too.
Yeah, so those are kind of mine. Bare Hands, because they're one of my favorite bands. I go through phases.
They're like a. You can give them a pause and go back to it.
Yeah, so I've been doing that a lot, like just kind of trying to get back into them. And the Apache Relay is another band that I love. This is an old album, but it's a really good one, and I love them. So
I need to get back into them too.
And then I forgot about Strange Trails by Lord Huron. Like, that's one of my favorite albums too, and I sort of just spaced it, and then it popped on my rotation the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh, Strange Trails.
Nice.
So yeah, I've been doing that. Dear God. And I've been listening to Crime Stories with Nancy Grace, which is terrifying to me because
you're telling me about her. I think I remember kind of listening and not like watching a clip of her somewhere.
She's really annoying.
Is she?
Her as a human being, can't say I'm a fan, but I do like getting the information on certain cases because I kind of like crime stuff and I like to follow it. So it's like a love-hate thing because I love the information I'm getting. I don't want to say I hate her. I don't hate her. I don't know her, but her personality is very obnoxious and really hard to listen to. But I tough it out for the information I'm getting. So I don't know. We'll see how long that lasts. I don't know how I feel, but yeah, we should probably wrap this up because our kids are destroying our house and I'm getting really pissed off and I think it's time to go.
With that, have a fantastic Sunday. Peace be with you guys.